So is it time to raise your prices? Raising prices can be super scary, especially 2020 and 2021 when the world has been weird and crazy and our industry has been affected. I'm gonna give you 5 signs to know when you're ready to raise your prices, and believe it or not, you may actually be able to work less and make more money. Stick around, watch the whole episode to find out how. Hey there, I'm Katelyn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a place where we like to empower photographers to build both profitable and purposeful businesses while also letting you in on the behind the scenes of our everyday life. A lot of you that watch these videos are not even subscribed, and I don't want to lose you, so subscribe so that we can stay connected and you can learn from us ongoing every single Thursday. This episode, we are diving into all things pricing and when it's time to raise your prices. All the tips that I'm sharing today are in a free downloadable PDF. There's a link below. Check them out. We have other free resources as well. If you are in a season where you don't know whether or not you should raise your prices, I have 5 things, 5 reasons, 5 signs I'm going to break down to let you know if you're ready or not. And so even if just one of these resonate with you, pay attention to that because you may need to make adjustments to your pricing like as soon as right after you watch this video today. Make a change today. So here we go. All right, first sign that it's time to raise your prices, 3 E's. The 3 E's of pricing, I talk about this more in depth in our business collection, which is our business course. But the 3 E's of pricing, if you have enhanced or increased your equipment, your experience level, or your education amount, those 3 E's elevate how valuable you are and how valuable your work is. Now, the caveat to this is that you can't just go and say, all right, I'm going to buy your biggest course, Katelyn. I'm going to go spend $2,000 on a new lens and I'm going to just shoot one senior session and just be done and say, now I'm raising my prices big time. That's not how it works. But in general, when the 3 E's increase, you know that you're ready for some type of price increase. It doesn't have to be a ton. It doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. I don't recommend that. But incremental price increases can happen as these 3 E's increase in your business. The second sign that you may be ready to raise your price is that you are half booked for your goal number of weddings or shoots or clients for the upcoming season, and you're like 6 months ahead. That's a perfect time to raise your prices. Why? Because you have a buffer time. You can try out new prices, give yourself 3 to 6 months to see if they take effect and see what happens. And then if you don't hit your goal, you know you already have some work coming in. That's great. You've already booked it. We'll use this 3 to 6 month period, raise your prices, see what happens. And then once you get to the 3 to 6 month mark, whatever you decide is your time period of testing out these new prices, if you're not booking and if you don't feel like you're going to meet your goal, you can either lower them again or you can lower them all the way. You can lower them a little bit or you can lower them all the way back to where you were starting. But give yourself a trial period because you have the buffer. The tricky part with this is you can't just try this out for like a month and then say, oh, it didn't work for me. A lot of people do that. They're like, oh, I tried prices and I had 3 people turn me down. Right. You're going to have people turn you down. That is part of growing a business. I just feel like everybody who raises their prices, they need to have a pep talk every single time someone ghosts them or says, oh no, you're out of my budget. If you're ever going to move up, if you're ever going to grow, if you're ever going to be in a new pricing bracket, you've got to take some risk. And so taking a risk, I think the first step is find the best season, the healthiest season to try out some new prices. And then once you're in that new season, commit to a time frame, 3 to 6 month minimum. Do not try new prices for 1 month. That's not beneficial. You're not going to see the true result of that price increase. You've got to at least give it 3 months. 6 months is way more ideal. All right, third sign that it may be time to raise your prices is that your experience level has increased. This is huge because nothing can replace experience level. If you have shot more weddings, shot more portrait sessions, engaged with more clients, seen more real life scenarios, dealt with different lighting, different locations, different personalities, like that is invaluable. Experience is huge. It changes your marketing. It changes your portfolio. It changes your online social media presence. When you have work to show and experience to show, your value is automatically increasing. Now, this is interesting because this happens all the time. It's so sad. I have it happening right now in our business collection. People are super, super busy, right? And this could get into a whole nother talk about marketing, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but people are super busy and they're shooting and they're shooting and they're shooting, and they maybe are showing like a sneak peek on Instagram. Some people don't even do that. And then all of a sudden, a year goes by after a crazy busy season, and they're not booking anymore. And they're like, what has happened to me? Well, you're working for those clients and sure, you're giving them a great experience, but you're not using the oomph, what's the word? What am I looking for? The momentum. Yeah, momentum. You're not using the momentum of the shoots and the experience that you're actually engaging in on a regular basis with these clients to push you forward. There's no blog posts. There's no social media content. You're just barely keeping your head above water. There's so many things I could say about this. Basically, we need to outsource. We need to have a system. We need to have a workflow, and we need to turn these things around really fast so you can just show the world, hey, I'm valuable. People are booking me. I'm working my butt off. But a lot of times when people are working their butt off, they don't get the value for all the hard work that they put in. If you truly want to get the value for all of your hard work, you got to use your experience to your advantage to increase your prices. If you just booked your first full wedding season and have not raised your prices after shooting half of it, you should be able to do that, right? Especially if you are in like the $1,500 to $2,500 mark. If you're a $1,200 photographer shooting 20 weddings a year, why aren't we increasing that to $1,900, $2,200, and then shooting 5 to 6 less weddings the next year and making the same amount of money? Why aren't we doing that? Because we're scared. I get it. Everyone's scared. Everyone gets freaked out. They don't want to be that one photographer that raises their prices and thinks they're better than other people, and then no one books you. It's like a double jab at you. Your confidence just gets shot to the ground. So let's just stay safe and burn yourself out and not be able to continue in business because you're not getting compensated well for your effort, for your time, for your experience, and for your gift. I'm going to dig into why this happens to people on a very last point. Let's keep going. I have a few more points, and then I'm going to hit hard on that at the end. All right, number 4. A reason it's time to raise your prices is that you are ready to slow down. Another scenario I find myself in, talking to photographers who are like, Katelyn, I'm so burned out. I'm so burned out. I just shot 45 weddings, and I have 2 kids at home under the age of 6. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The first thing I hear is if you're shooting over 15 to 20 weddings, if you are booking easily and you want to slow down, we should have raised prices 6 months ago. And don't be scared when you only book half at first, right? If you raise your prices significantly and 50% of your inquiries are ditching you and that you're not the right fit, guess what? It's working. Like you're doing the hard work of weeding out the people who are not willing to make the investment and waiting for the people to come around that are. This is so tough because it takes trust and risk and believing in yourself. If you are burning the candle at both ends, you're exhausted, you want to be able to spend more time with your family, you want more freedom in your life, and you are just booked solid, please raise your prices. I don't know how else to explain it other than you are stripping yourself of your freedom. You created this business to have freedom, but if you cannot raise your prices, you're never going to experience it. I remember when I did this the first time, and I really did have a complex about not shooting 40 weddings a year. And I realized I truthfully, from 25 to 45 weddings a year, somewhere in that mark, I thought, if I don't shoot that amount, I'm not a real photographer. And I cannot tell you how much that lie stole from my life. There is a fly in here. There's a fly. Did you see it? I'm going to go back to my point. Okay. Sorry. I was really serious and the fly just went right in front of me. When I was shooting 25 to 40 weddings a year, 45 weddings a year, I truly I felt like I was winning. Like I felt like I was killing it, and I was, right? But was I? Because when I shot 40 some weddings a year, we just didn't really have a life. So I thought to myself though, I have made it. I'm the pinnacle of success. Look at me. I've booked 40 some weddings at like $5,000-$6,000. For some reason, it didn't seem like as impressive to book less, even at a higher price point. I don't know why that is. I was making more money, booking $7,800 weddings, $9,800 weddings, but booking less of them. And so I remember really having to train myself to think, no, I am choosing this. I'm choosing to book less. I'm choosing to be rejected for the greater good of what I want. I want to work less. I want to make the same. I want to pull in the people that truly will pay for my experience and work with just me. And that took a lot of rejection to get to that place in my business. So we're going to have to learn to be rejected in order to get ultimately the lifestyle and the work-life balance that we want. Yes, great. It's a great point. Ty's got a great point to share. Ty made a great point. It's not all about the money, right? So do you really need to make the same amount, or do you need to get your life back and work 50% less, but still make 80% of what you were making? What is the price point on the life like that you will gain? What's the price point on the lowering of your anxiety? What's the price point on joy in your home? Like it is winning is not defined in one way. A sign that you might need to raise your prices is if your work-life balance, your quality of life is suffering. If your quality of life is suffering, what can you do as a smart, wise, in-tune business owner with what you need? What do you need in your business to give you the life that you want? Instead of making 80 grand a year, could you make 72 grand a year, doing a lot less work, taking a risk with pricing, and then have 4 more weekends to be at soccer games in the fall? I mean, is that worth it? Is it worth it to make that significant adjustment? Point number 5, reason number 5, sign number 5 that you may be ready to raise your prices is that you are in the the dead zone. So the dead zone is when your work and your client experience, everything about you as a photographer doesn't match what you say your prices are. Your website looks incredible. You look legit. You are legit. You have experience. But you kind of look like a scam because your prices are so low. The reason why this happens to so many people is that because of education, because of the ability to have an awesome website, because of the way to be present on social media, and the standard for presenting yourself well online is so high, people look legit so fast and they look great so fast, their prices can't keep up with how great they look. Some of you, it's complete opposite. Your online presence is doing a huge disservice to your value, and that you need a whole nother video. But then there's others of you that look so great online, but you look legit and you're charging $1,800 in a market where the standard for your quality of work is $3,200 or above. It makes sense why no one's booking you. Because when you look like you're attracting a certain clientele that has a certain budget, but then you're half of that budget, honestly, those people are not going to book you because they want to invest in the best. Sometimes lower end clientele will look at someone who looks like they have $3,000-$4,000 value of their work and be like, oh, I know I can't afford them. They're out of my budget. So you're not attracting the cheaper clients, but then you are at an $1,800 price point, but you look like you should be charging $4,000. And so people are like, if I have $3,000, $4,000 to spend, I'm not going to get an $1,800 photographer. They must be beginner. And they talk themselves out of it. It sounds like a far-fetched concept, but I've seen this happen over and over again for over a decade. Your price point has to match your value. And so often photographers grow, they don't realize how much they've grown, and they've priced themselves into a dead zone where their work and their experience level and their value doesn't match what they're saying their prices are. Ty and I are talking, it is like a growth ratio issue where people, and it happens in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, but like it basically, you're growing at a certain rate, but your prices just can't keep up. And if you've been told, which I teach this, like $300 incremental increases, like that's a great way to raise your prices. It's not too much, but like if you're skyrocketing and you've invested in all this education and your work is just like being transformed and you're getting experiences, you're working with planners, all of a sudden you're just like blowing up in the industry, and that's awesome. You might need to jump a little higher, a little faster. I think a lot of people are unaware of their value. And again, for some people, it's not the case, right? For some people, they're not growing as fast. Their work's not improving quite as fast, but you're still in a similar situation where you've been shooting at the same price point for 2 years and you've just got it in your mind like $2,200, like that's the goal. And eventually, if you're growing and you're working and you're meeting new people and your work is improving, you can't stay at $2,200 forever. Oh my gosh. If someone says to you, oh my gosh, you should raise your prices, you should double them. A bride. If a bride says like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how cheap you are, you need to go home right after they say that to you and raise your prices. If anyone ever says you should raise your prices and it's a client that's paying you, you should raise your prices. I should add that as like point number 6. Sign number 6 is if clients say you should raise your prices, you should have done it like yesterday. So anyway, all right. So all that to say, there is a huge but.
That's a pretty big butt.
Do not exit out of this video without hearing me say this. But all those things, they can happen if your website presence, if the way you present your pricing to a potential client, if the way you present yourself on social media, if this all doesn't amplify your value, if you are not presenting yourself in a professional way in those 3 arenas, none of this matters, right? Because you could shoot 5 weddings and get experience. Or you could say, oh, I'm ready to slow down. Or you could say, oh, like I bought some new equipment and I've just really upped my education game. That's great. But if all this is not represented online in front of people, if what people see, they can't see this, they can't see professionalism, they can't see an improvement in work, they can't see a really personal brand, then they're not going to catch on as to why you should be able to raise your prices, right? It's got to be represented in all those arenas. And if it's not, then a lot of times, even though it may be time for you to raise your prices, you can't because there's a missing link. Your website could be the missing link. Your Instagram account could be the missing link. The way you present yourself to the world and the way your prices are distributed could be the missing link. If you are a $3,200 photographer, you cannot be copy and pasting just like a Word doc into an email and saying, these are my prices. You just can't. You can for a while, maybe, but you're not going to be able to get away with that forever. You need to present yourself in a professional way from the very beginning in order to gain credibility. This is why I created the KJ pricing template. The KJ pricing template is basically my entire pricing guide. You can use my words, you can use my layout, you just import your images, make sure that you have the right prices aligned with what you are charging and export it. And now you have a beautiful PDF to distribute to your clients via email, or you can get it printed. Whatever you need. It also comes with a What You're Worth ebook, which teaches you more about everything I described in this video, more in depth about the dead zone, more in depth about understanding where your price point should actually be and what you need as far as the financial side of your business. So that's all included in this whole kit of pricing resources. It's linked below. You can check it out. Overall, I hope this was helpful in allowing you to discover that maybe you are stuck in a season in your business where you're doing all the right things, but your price point just doesn't match where you are. Or maybe you heard this and you're like, you know what? My price point's at a great place, but I'm not doing some of these things to make my price point look legit. And so I need to step it up in this area or this area. So if you enjoyed this, if you loved this, I hope that you will tune in, subscribe so you don't miss other videos like this in the future. Check out the freebie download below so you can have all this information. You don't need to take notes. Just download the freebie so you have content like this at your disposal to look at whenever you need it. And I will see you next week. Bye. Bye. Bye.